What is going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm YouTubes. Appreciate everyone jumping in, tuning in here on a Thursday afternoon. Got a lot to get to on today's show. We got multiple sports we are covering today. Later in the show, I'll be giving out some college basketball bets. Had a pretty good day yesterday, so I'll try to keep that one going. NHL bets and picks with Josh Wagner, one of Fantasy Alarm's hockey guys, so he's going to jump on soon here. Got to start, though, with some NFL. We have kind of taken a break from NFL this week, but this is conference championship weekend, and we got to bring in Andrew Cooper. He is obviously one of, if you follow Fantasy Alarm or Bettor Sports Network, you know he is one of our NFL experts, diving into the tight ends and the DFS, everything DFS. He handles the rankings at Fantasy Alarm. He's doing his Coops Fantasy Football Fiasco show, the Alarm Fantasy Football show. You're everywhere, Coop. But thanks for joining here today.
Of course, man. I mean, dude, this is prime time. I've been trying to get on this show, dude. I've been doing all these other ones. I've been trying to get in because this is when the betting really takes over, right? All year long, we do Dynasty and we do DFS, and we do all that stuff, the best ball. But these games here, this is when there's a big magnifying glass on it, and the books come out with so many more props for these single primetime games. There's so many more angles to take, and it's a lot more fun, man. So I'm glad to be on for this. Two big games on Sunday. I love when the games are at 3 and 6:30 Eastern time. Like it's perfect, man. The games, because the East Coast, man, sometimes those games late at night, it's hard to get excited. Now they end like perfect time. You can still watch a movie if you want, or you can go to bed, so it's kind of nice. The 3 and 6:30, boom, love it. So let's go, dude.
Yeah, the 6:30 game will be hopefully over by like 9 or 9:30. So
perfect.
yeah. But yeah, so Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, 49ers. We're gonna dive into this, props, picks, anything that you guys have out there that you want to throw out picks wise. Throw it in the chat here as you're watching along. Like and subscribe as always on Fantasy Alarm, Bettor Sports Network. We love that. But you guys have always thrown out your bets for these NFL games. I know early in the week we weren't talking NFL. We saw some picks thrown in there, but now, now's the time. Tomorrow too, we'll be breaking this down with Howard Bender. But here we got Coop to see what he's going with these games. Let's start with Chiefs Ravens, that 3:00 game. Eastern time on Sunday, the AFC title game. 3.5. I've seen the spread. Looking at like moving up to 4 maybe for the Ravens at home here. 44.5 is the total. I was leaning Chiefs for most of this week. I don't want to waver away from that. And I see that you're on the Chiefs, and I love this. So why are you back in Mahomes in Kansas City here?
Yeah, so honestly, my philosophy is to not bet on every game. There are some people that are like, I have to have a take on everything. I have to bet the entire slate. For me, I pick and choose my spots. So sometimes you invite me on a show like this for an entire Sunday, and I would say, I don't like anything today. No over-unders, none of that. I always do a lot of player props because I'm a fantasy guy. In this particular one, I do like the Chiefs. The caveat being that I need the hook, right? I need it to be 3.5 or 4. At 3, I don't like it. I don't like the idea of a push at 3 because how many times have we seen Justin Tucker win games, right?
Yeah.
So I could easily see they're willing to roll them out there 50, 60. I wouldn't be surprised in the right conditions to see them roll them out for a 70-yard field goal. That's where I'm at with this. I think this is going to be a close game. I think the Ravens do win. And anytime I can get points plus the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to take it, man, because I think at the very least they're going to keep it close, and I think they could easily outright win. So for me, that's where I'm going, and I'm not betting the over under on this one. I know Howard loves the under here, but if I'm betting anything from an overarching standpoint, it's just going to be the Chiefs to cover 3.5.
Yeah, Mahomes' record as an underdog has been pretty well documented at this point. I think it's like 8-3 straight up, and not like 9-1 against the spread or something like that. Like this guy. Doubting him fading him as an underdog and the Chiefs as a dog has been not profitable. So that's why I'm with you. I do think, like the Ravens getting that 3 and a hook is definitely key.
It's the hook, yeah. I don't like it at 3, honestly. The hook, though, I'll take it.
Yeah. Especially because I think, a late field goal for Tucker, even if the Chiefs are winning, it could be like a 1 or 2 point win with the Tucker field goal. All right, so you're on the Chiefs here. Going to the player prop side of things, you like a pick here on Zay Flowers, going under on a Flowers prop.
Right. I mean, and the thing with the, mathematically speaking, it's less fun and it's a tougher sweat to bet the under.
Yeah.
Right. I mentioned it last week. I had under on Brock Wright receptions because he hadn't had a reception like 4 games in a row. And that's it was at 0.5. So 1 catch and you're dead. Those are tough sweats. Right. Because, at any moment you could lose it. In this particular one, I look at Zay Flowers, and the positives are that he's been the only wide receiver to play the full game like all year. They rotate everybody else, but and then it's Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. The situation is this team they're playing just so happens to have a lockdown corner that's been vaporizing people. You watched the game last week, Stephon Diggs. There's a reason they had to hand him the ball out of the backfield, set up screens. It's because L'Jarius Sneed has been a huge problem for everybody. He has transformed into an elite shutdown corner where we should be talking about him the same way we talk about guys like Jair Alexander, all these other guys. Like he's going to be all over Zay Flowers all day long. And we've seen Zay Flowers in lesser matchups come out and have games like 7 yards or 30 yards. So of course he could break off one big one and ruin our day. But I think because he's the only guy that plays full snaps, they're going to just say, hey, L'Jarius, take that one player away. And then let's see how they figure it out from there. So even at only 44.5 yards, I'm going to go under on that one.
Yeah, and the Chiefs' defense has been a little weaker against the run. So I feel like the Ravens, with their run game, are going to try to, right. Lamar Jackson's going to be running a ton. I expect that, but him in that run game, I feel like is going to be kind of the focal point, especially just to, with the Chiefs. You want to string out these longer drives, keep their offense off the field. And I feel like the Ravens might try to do that anyway.
That's why Howard likes the under. That's the picture you're painting is what Howard thinks is that, like, in these situations, you all year long, you're conservative with guys like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen until you get to these games. And then you let Lamar Jackson run all over, do whatever. There's no sliding. There's none of that, so I could see that being drawn out. I'm still scared of it because, you know what I mean? Like it's Lamar Jackson against Patrick Mahomes. I can't bring myself to bet the under, but that narrative is there.
Are you factoring in the, likely return of Mark Andrews into this Ravens offense, like to, just liking the under on a Flowers prop or any other props even more?
Yeah, well, that's the big thing for me is that his potential return has me at this stage not wanting to take any action on Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely. And me, I'm always betting on the tight ends, right?
Yeah.
But like just the uncertainty there. With my bets, I like certainty, so I'm not going to go there on those ones. And if Mark Andrews doesn't play and he's a late number, then I actually probably won't even go for Isaiah Likely. If anything, I'll look at and see if I can sneak a little Charlie Kohler over under on 1 catch type play because he does get involved. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of play I like because the Chiefs and the Ravens and honestly the 49ers are all very difficult defenses for tight ends. So there's really not a lot of great tight end action outside of one player. And that's, we'll get to that later. The last bet I have for this game that I'm leaning into is that, so I like the under on Zay Flowers. I'm going to go with Odell Beckham. And I don't like betting his reception total. I don't even like betting his yardage total, but I'm taking the over on his longest reception, 13.5 yards at -110. Just if you look at the way he's operated all year, he is the kind of guy that kind of finds a hole in the zone or gets loose and makes that random catch. Last week, he only ran 8 routes. Like in a couple of these games, he's running less than 50% of the routes, but they have plays dialed up for him where he can make that catch. And if you go look, he's got a bunch of games where he has 40 yards, and one of those plays is 32 yards. Yeah. Or he has 40-yard, 30-yard, 50-yard receptions this year. So I could see him coming out and having 1 catch for 15 yards, in which case most of the Odell bets don't hit except mine. So you know what I mean? Like they're not running him in slants. They're not running him for like dink and dunk plays. He's out there to make the play at some point, and that's what I'm looking for. And that's a fun one too. Like you got to factor in, we're trying to make money here, but we're trying to have fun. Sitting there and hoping Odell makes the catch, that's one where when it happens, bing, boom, we win. Right?
Yeah. You don't worry. Yeah. If it's 1 catch, that's fine. Who cares if he gets
so good? Yeah.
Only
there
one
it is.
catch.
And it can happen at any moment. So you're holding out hope. Even at the very end of the game, it's like he has no catches all game. Boom, 20-yard catch. we get paid. That's fun.
For a huge first down to like seal the game or something.
Love it, dude. Love it.
I like this pick a lot, and this is a nice like under the radar one that people don't normally think about betting. Longest reception, but like I was looking back just right now at Odell's game logs. So he only had one catch last week for 12 yards, but before that,
would have just missed. Would have just because it's 13 and a half, right? So that's the danger. That is a long play, 12 yards, but it's not long enough.
So he just missed that, but before that, to end the regular season, he was over this. He had at least a 14-yard catch in, I think, like 6 of the last 7 games. So
that's what I'm saying. He lives in that world where it's like, awesome, let's go.
Yeah, and they use Andrews, Likely, Flowers as kind of like their short, medium range guys, but Beckham is kind of their deep ball, if you will.
Right. That's it's just fun, Yeah. And if he doesn't, the thing is, he's not going to go out and have like 3 or 4 catches for 10, 20 yards. He's going to catch the big one or he's going to do nothing. So,
all right, Lions 49ers, 7-point spread here, 51.5 is the total. Obviously at San Francisco. And we were just talking about maybe the under in Chiefs Ravens, but you like the under in this one.
Yeah. So for this one, and again, you hate to bet the under in a game like this because it's so much fun when it could be a shootout. I just think that the way these teams are built, they're built to be good against what the other one does, right? So the Lions are good against the run, and obviously Christian McCaffrey and Teron Armstead and Kyle Juszczyk, they want to brute force you and win that way. And Deebo Samuel's banged up, which makes it even harder on that side. And then, of course, what the Lions like to do with the dink and dunks to Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown, well, you got Fred Warner, who is just, he's one of the better coverage guys. So I think that this one stays close. I'm hesitant to bet the Lions to cover, but, if I was going to do it, I would do Lions in the under, right? Because it's so much easier to cover in a low-scoring game. But I personally am just going to go with the under from the top. And then I have one big prop on this one. If you want me, I want to hear your thoughts on the under first, then I'll give you my big prop I'm doing.
Yeah, we'll get to real quick here. I was going back and forth on the spread for this one. I wanted to talk myself into Lions. I'll probably be going 49ers if I would make a pick on the spread. The total, I do think the under is kind of the sharper way to go because normally you think, all right, taking the over here, it's a high total anyway. But I think I need news on Deebo Samuel. I think for sure. Even he's going to be banged up anyway. But if he's out for sure, then it's just less explosiveness and one less guy the Lions defense has to worry about. So yeah, I'd probably lean on the under. I do think like the 49ers are going to need their defense to kind of set the tone here. And Goff, if you look at his numbers outdoors compared to when he plays indoors in a dome, which he usually does with the Lions and has, did with the Rams as well. But when he plays outdoors, his numbers and, their passing offense isn't as strong too. So that's kind of another thing to look at.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the thing. Deebo is a big question, but it's starting to trend like he's not going to play. If he's not going to play, I'm going to bet on a ton of action here. I already have one in. I have CMC 4.5 receptions over. That's going to move up if Deebo's definitively out. But if you have been watching the market, like George Kittle is the player I'm going to bet on no matter what as well. And he's already gone from 58.5 over under up to 60.5, right?
Okay.
I think George Kittle is in a position to have a big game here. And I'm not usually a George Kittle guy. I worry about, in the past, I've kind of faded him because I worry about from week to week, he's not set up to have big games. But if you go back and look at the big games he has had this year, he's basically had 6 games with 7 or more targets. 4 of those games came when either Deebo or Ayuk were out, right? Week 3, he had 10 targets. Deebo didn't play. Ayuk didn't play in that game. Week 7 and 8, no Deebo. Last week, Deebo gets banged up. He has a big game, right? And this is a player, because he runs a 4.5, 240, and he lives off play action. No player has more, no tight end at least, has no more 40-plus yard plays than George Kittle since he's been in the league, and it's not close. Travis Kelce is the next best, and he's still like 5 behind him, and nobody else has more than 7 or 8. Like, this guy is capable of monster plays. So what I'm doing is I'm doing the latter bet here. Now, I personally like doing it. I haven't really even looked into whether people consider it a sucker bet or not, but I've had some pretty sharp people say that they do ladder bets. The people that are against parlays and things like that, they do the ladder bet. To those that might not know what that is, it's if you really like the total, the over under on a player, you bet that, but then you also bet the alt lines. So to give you an example, here's what I'm doing. George Kittle said at 60.5 yards, minus 115 is the line, right? I'm betting the over on that. And let's say my unit is $10. I might put $50 on that, right? Say 5 units. Then I'm taking all the alt lines and I'm putting another $10 on each of those all the way up. So 69.5 is plus 135. 79.5 is plus 200. 100 yards is almost plus 500, right? So if you were somebody that, is going to put 200 on the Kittle's line and then 100 on everything up, you hit those as he incrementally goes up. And if at some point he breaks off a big play and just hits 100 yards, you win all the bets.
Yeah.
So I love doing the ladder bet because it's so much fun. Once you hit the first one, now I'm playing with house money, and we sit there and we say, well, let's see how high this ladder can go. If he hits the under, you lose all the bets, and that stinks. But that's why you only do it when you're very confident he's going to hit those numbers. So George Kittle ladder bet I'm doing this week. Let's go.
Listen, when you're talking tight ends, I gotta listen. So
that's right.
I love the ladder idea, though. I do that too. I did it last week actually with Mike Evans, and it hit a couple of those because I did. I liked it. I think the prop was at like 70.5 around there, but I went, I think 85 plus. It was, 100 plus. Right. It was like if you are confident in a player and you just see the line just being a little too low, and you really think they could smash.
Yeah.
I mean, go for it.
Especially these guys capable of 50, 60 yard plays, right? Yeah. Because that's how you get the gaudy numbers. Most of the times it's not, guys getting, every once in a while you get like Devontae Adams gets 19 targets and he brute forces his way to 150 yards. A lot of times it's a normal game, 5-6 catches for 70 or 80 yards. And then one extra catch that goes for 50. That's how you get 130, 140 yards. Kittle's one of the few guys that does it. So ladder it up.
Ladder and Kittle. Yeah, I mean, listen, the Lions' pass defense, too, has been kind of shaky. So I feel like one of these guys where there's Kittle, and if Debo's out, then it's either Kittle or Ayuk that's going to probably go off. So
Gotta be. Yeah.
Awesome stuff, Coop, man. So what, tomorrow you have the Coop's Fantasy Fiasco show, right, on Bettor Sports Network Fantasy Alarm, so people can listen to your fantasy and betting takes on that for these two conference championship games. But I know like you handled the rankings for this week if people are playing in playoff fantasy leagues. What else you got going on at Fantasy Alarm?
Yeah, so tomorrow here's what we're doing. Here's the setup for the rest of the year here is on Tuesday, we do on the Alarm Fantasy Football Show, we cover the games. So if you want to see my thoughts on the games, those are already up.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, I bring on a guest to do Dynasty. Tomorrow on Coop's Fantasy Football Fiasco, and for the rest of the Fridays, I'm digging into free agency. We're getting into that because we got multiple shows. So tomorrow I'm going to go through NFC South.
Okay.
For your Dynasty leagues, basically tell you who's safe, who's not, who could leave, who could not. And we're going to try and get ahead of that, make some trades in our Dynasty leagues, So you look at Mike Evans as a free agent. I'm going to try and prognosticate on what you should or shouldn't do with him and what it means for guys like Chris Godwin and Trey Palmer. So check that out tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time right here. And I just want to say thanks for having me on. And come on, let's link up again for some Super Bowl. And you got to have me on before the draft because I love talking. You crushed the draft picks, and I need to know what you're thinking about the NFL draft so I can get some lines in on that because that's the funnest one to bet on. Yeah,
we'll definitely have you on before the NFL draft and probably a couple times before because that's not till April. So like
I know,
or May. I forget when it is this year.
I wish. How do we bet on the combine? Like that's what the books have opened it up 40 times. That's what I want to bet on.
Yeah, is he gonna run it under 4.4? What's the deal?
Yeah,
I like that. All right, Coop, awesome stuff, man. We'll keep an eye out for all the stuff you got going on. But we'll have you on again soon, man. Thanks.
Cheers, brother. Tell Wags I say what up, man. I'll be watching for his hockey takes when he gets on here.
Yeah, we're gonna talk some hockey right now with Wags here. Thanks, Coop. Again, follow Coop on Twitter. Check out all his stuff on Fantasy Alarm, Bettor Sports Network. He is a busy guy in the NFL space. All right, hockey time here. Got some NHL picks to give out for Thursday night. Let's bring on Josh Wagner. Wags. He is our betting expert at Fantasy Alarm. My former producer co-producer at SiriusXM Fantasy. How you doing, Wags?
Pretty good, man. Yeah, those were some good times. I'm glad you don't air a lot of the dirty laundry from those days, because we know so much stuff about these hosts that we admire from all these years later, and we're kind of like not even sworn to secrecy, but we're just like, you know what, it's okay. But got some great stories we could swap sometime.
Yeah, no one's paid me enough to kind of go public with some of the stuff, you know. I'm waiting for that. All right, hockey bets. You have an article up right now on Fantasy Alarm, written wise of breaking down all your best bets, and it's something you've been doing pretty much every day at Fantasy Alarm. So everyone go check that out. But we got you on here to talk about some of these picks. I wanted to ask you about this one bet you got going for the Bruins tonight, coming off their loss last night, back to back, but you like them tonight here.
Yeah, and now I'm going to feel like I'm catering to Coop entirely, because I heard him before he left. He was going to stick around and listen, him and Mpemba, big Boston Bruins guys. So independent of even that, Servo, I know as a hockey community, and Adam, I don't know if he's producing today. I think he is. But
he is.
We tend to fade the teams on the back-to-back, but there are exceptions to that rule, and it's, teams that are built very well, fundamentally well-coached teams that have great goaltending, between their one and their two, great goaltending tandems. That's the Boston Bruins for me. They play the right way. They clog the neutral zone. They forecheck the hell out of you. Their goalie play has been really good for the past few years now. It looks like Jeremy Swayman is likely to start. They haven't officially confirmed it, but Linus Ullmark went last night, so I would expect Swayman to play. He's got a 2.31 goals against average. He's 15-3-7 this year. Rock solid goalie. And it's just hard to see a team like the Bruins lose 2 straight days, especially when you're playing a team like the Ottawa Senators, who are in last place in the Atlantic Division. Just not a very good team. Joonas Korpisalo is going to start for them tonight, a 3.46. I don't know why they even brought him in the first place, Servo. He wasn't a very good goalie in Columbus or in LA. He hasn't been very good for Ottawa either. So I just think the Bruins are a more talented team, even on short rest. And you're getting good odds on it, too. It's kind of baked in that they played last night and that they're on the road. The next time the Bruins play the Senators, they're going to be like minus 200 or higher. So you're getting them at like minus 120 to minus 135 on other books. You just got to sweep up that value where you can get it.
Yeah, I was going to just say that because, minus 135 on the money line for the Bruins tonight on BetMGM. And, I think, as you said, it's kind of baked in that the back-to-back on the road up in Ottawa, that's kind of why it's a small favorite. But if there's value on that to grab the Boston Bruins here. All right, got to go to my Flyers tonight. They've been feisty. They've been pretty good this year. They're on the road here, taking on the Red Wings up in Detroit. Where are you going with this game?
So I kind of started the article talking about how dirty laundry can sometimes be infectious in sports, and there's a lot going on with Carter Hart right now.
Yeah,
and that Canadian under 18 scandal going on. I don't know if that's enough reason to fully fade the Flyers for the next few weeks. But it's certainly on top of their minds right now. And, say what you will about Ersson, who's, their rookie goaltender. He's been pretty good this year. But Carter Hart is a big part of that locker room that's not going to be there for a while. So that does have somewhat of an effect for me. And when it comes to a 50-50 matchup like this today, and you can see it kind of reflected in the odds, Detroit gets, a little bit, I guess it's 20 cents on the dollar just for being at home here. If it was the other way around, the Flyers probably be favored the same way. That little edge, with everything going on with Carter Hart, and just the fact that the Flyers are a really up and down team this season. You talk about them being kind of frisky. They go a week or two where they're getting away with not scoring a lot of goals, and the defense plays well, the goaltending plays well, and they can win those 1-goal games. But in the vast majority of the season, they're getting outscored, and they're playing at a deficit for the most part. And I'll have to look it up here and see what their goal differential is, a +6. So it's razor thin, being 48 games into the season. So I just look at all of those things, and I look at that they're on the road. They're a decent road team, not the best, But they're going up against a Red Wings team now that's won their last 3 games. The offense is humming. Patrick Kane has seemed to fit in pretty well over there. And the biggest reason, though, is Alex Lyon. And honestly, it comes down to goaltending a lot with hockey. They're the most important position when it comes to betting the game. And Alex Lyon's been really good this season, 11-6-1, goals against 2.67. He's coming off one of his worst starts of the year, but he bounces back well. I just think that Detroit ends up edging this one out, scoring 3.5 goals per game in the last month, too. I don't know if the Flyers can even score 2 or 3 goals. So if the Red Wings get to 3 or 4, that might be a wrap.
I respect it. As you said, the Flyers are a streaky team, and the Red Wings have the goalie advantage for sure. Mm-hmm. I wanted to actually ask you about, I'm glad you brought it up, the Carter Hart situation and, other players around the league that are currently out and dealing with that sexual assault, allegations and case that's going on. Is like obviously with their teams that right now you're just kind of like the vibes are weird enough or low enough that one of their guys is involved in this, that maybe you look to fade them right now?
So I don't think for the most part one of them doesn't even play in the NHL anymore. But the Flames with Dylan, it's either Dube or Doobie. I don't even know if I've ever heard it in play-by-play, but I don't think he's a significant piece enough of the Flames. I mean, he is pretty good. Thank you, Adam Dubé. And the Flames just aren't a very good team in general right now for it to make a huge impact. I think it's just one of those things is, the hockey community is to kind of depend on each other because the NHL as a whole is kind of tone deaf to these things. And it's something they struggled with for a long time. So, if you see something, say something. The hockey community is a great one, and can't rely on Gary Bettman to figure things out as we've seen in the past.
Yeah, hopefully he handles this situation a little bit better. All right, your last pick here, going with a total in the Devils and Hurricanes game tonight.
Yeah, this one's a little bit shisty. I really went back and forth between this matchup and the Stars and Ducks. I was just a little bit worried that the Ducks wouldn't contribute enough in that Stars game, even though, I think for the Dallas side at home, they've gone over in 19 of 24 games this season, which is just ridiculous. So I went over to the Devils side. We've seen it lately with Vitek Vanacek. He's kind of honeypotted the entire New Jersey Devils organization into thinking we have a good goaltender now. And then, he shows you who he was his final few years in Washington and why they let him go. Just a subpar goaltender. He's not going to go tonight. I believe it's Nico Dawes that's going to get the nod. He's been okay. 3-4 in his 7 starts this season. He's kind of gotten beat up though, in most of those, and that might be an overall problem as the Devils blue line themselves. One of their best guys, Luke Hughes, he'd rather play offense. Dougie Hamilton's in and out of the lineup all the time. So I just don't see the Devils committing to playing defense. And Jack Hughes is going to be out still for the Devils, which sucks. But, with Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt, they've been able to score enough goals per game lately to kind of make it worth your while. They've scored 3.59 over the past month on the road, so well above league average in that category. And then on the Hurricane side, they've been a little sloppy defensive all season long, and they just played last night against Boston. That was a pretty heavy game emotionally, physically. Teams beat each other up. Those are going to be 2 of the Eastern Conference giants when we get to playoff time in April, Servo. So I think there might be a little bit of a letdown here, and we talked about the Jersey goaltending situation. The Hurricanes have a serious problem because Frederik Andersen is always hurt. I don't remember the last time he played. Pyotr Kochetkov, or I don't even know how you say that name, honestly, but he's their 3rd-string goalie. He's technically a rookie. He played last year. He was okay, and now it's down to Antti Ranta with his 3-2 goals against. He's 10-9 straight up, save percentage well under 87%, which is just horrid. I could see the puck flying around in this game, Servo. Both teams play with a lot of pace. The defense just isn't there. And the Devils have to win games by scoring goals. So I think we see a lot of goals in this one tonight.
All right. Well, how about any player props to wrap this up that you got your eye on, maybe in this game or any other games tonight?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked. And, if this one falls apart, it's me putting the jinx on it. But Leon Draisaitl has scored a goal in 8 straight games against the Chicago Blackhawks. I think he's got 10 total. He had 2 in one of those games.
Okay.
So he comes into this one, and he's playing the worst version of the Chicago Blackhawks that he's played over the last few years. And, just the way they're trending, they're scoring 1 goal tops per game. So they're going to get crushed in that category. But the defense has been horrible. They've allowed over 4 goals per game over the last month. So if Leon Draisaitl doesn't score, this is my fault. And yeah, the Oilers going for 15 wins. You could take them to win. They're super chalky though. So maybe on the puck line, even that would probably cost you a few cents on the dollar. But Leon Draisaitl minus 105. Yeah.
Sorry, puck line's at 205, 2.5.
Yeah. So it's not even really worth the squeeze. I mean, you could try and get cheeky with it and take a minus 2.5, but then you're just screaming every time they don't score on the power play. So it's not as much fun. But yeah, Leon Draisaitl minus 105. Anytime goal scorer. I don't usually like betting on those because it's kind of subjective, like an anytime touchdown would be in football.
Yeah.
It's not really up to them. It's kind of a situational thing. But that would be one. And then any kind of shots on goal prop for the Lightning tonight. The Coyotes are allowing over 34 per game over the last month on the road, and they just got boat raced by the Panthers 24 hours ago, and now they got to play Tampa, who's red hot. So I think Nikita Kucherov, 4.5 shots on goal. That's a high number, but he could get there. Or Braden Point, 2.5. That would be something I'd look at. I think the Lightning offense, Connor Ingram's good in goal for the Coyotes, but that has no bearing on shots on goal coming his way. So I think the Lightning probably tilt the ice in that one.
All right. Awesome stuff, man. Got some props, got some money line bets. I know I just put in a couple of these as you were talking along, so I'll be following along. Awesome stuff, Wags. On Fantasy Alarm, you get the best bets article tonight, and most nights, right, at Fantasy Alarm, people want to check out your stuff?
Yeah, it's typically right now about 5 days a week. The other day I'm doing the DFS playbook, giving Chris Murray and Andrew Dewhurst a little bit of a reprieve. DFS is tough. It weighs on you. So I try and sub in all I can there. And yeah, just check out the articles. The dog of the day is up for today. Go check that out on Fantasy Alarm. It's what is it? It's 8-9 on the year plus 2.1 units so far. So go check that out. I won't give it out here, so you can go subscribe to Fantasy Alarm and get some plus money winners there.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't give it out here. People go get the All-Pro subscription at Fantasy Alarm to get that dog of the day and all of Wags' bets. Every 5 days a week, he's got he's up plus 7 units right now on the season. Like you're hitting these, so people go check out his stuff, man. Thanks for coming on here, Josh. We'll definitely bring you on soon and throughout the whole rest of the hockey season, man.
Yeah, man. Football's coming to an end. You know where I'm at. Hockey's starting to peek through the door here. We're getting ready for basketball and hockey. I can't wait. Thanks for having me on, Servo.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on here. All right, so some hockey bets for tonight. I'm going to finish out the show here talking some college basketball. Because I've had some down nights, gave out some losers in recent shows here, but yesterday I went 4-1 with my picks, 9-1 on my Twitter picks that I tweet out every day. Just a couple additional ones that I'll throw in there. So just trying to carry that momentum in here. First one is Gonzaga at home against San Francisco. Big game in the WCC West Coast Conference tonight. San Francisco has been, kind of a hot team, and I've been high on them. I've bet on them, so far this year, and it's been profitable, but I'm fading them here, and I'm back in Gonzaga. 9.5 is the spread. Maybe a little high, but I do think this should be a double-digit win at least for the Zags at home. This is a down year for Gonzaga compared to what we're used to from them in the past 10 years. But this is still a very good team. They are 26th in the country in offensive efficiency, 30th in defensive efficiency, like top 30 in both offense and defense for this Gonzaga team is very good for a team that's falling out of the AP poll has really, they've suffered some losses. But you look at their losses, like they've lost to good teams this year. And their one was, that was kind of, a bad loss per se, was on the road at Santa Clara recently, which I totally understand. Just going on the road, Gonzaga has been, susceptible to losses in conference play. But this is still a team that's ranked 19th in KenPom, 21st in Bart Torvik, 28th in the net. This is still one of those top tier teams. And I think they're at home here. I feel like they're going to, try to come out strong and prove that San Francisco is not going to compete with them in the West Coast. It's going to be Gonzaga and St. Mary's. And San Francisco, they were on a roll recently, but they just lost by 17 at home to St. Mary's, which is kind of like a comeback down to earth moment for this team because they had been rolling against some easier competition. But they just faced, their real tough test of conference play, and it was at home, but it was, a really good St. Mary's team, and they lost by double digits. And I feel like we're going to see something similar here against Gonzaga. San Fran, looking back at these teams' recent meetings and series history, they have not covered on the road at Gonzaga since 2018. This is 5 straight road games at the Zags that were blowout losses. They Zags regularly winning these by double digits, covering double digit spreads. And I think we're going to see the same thing here. Gonzaga is coming off a 3-game road trip for this matchup, which is pretty notable because if you look at Gonzaga over the past 4 years in conference play, their first game back at home after a road trip of at least 2 games, Gonzaga is 7-1 against the spread. This is a team where Mark Few has his guys ready to go, coming off the road trip back home in a very good, home environment, home crowd that, hasn't seen their team play. This is, their last home game was January 6th. So we're now going on, basically 20 days here that they have not been at home. I feel like the players, the Gonzaga players, just the team in general is going to feed off this home crowd energy. This is a game that's going to be on ESPN2, I think, tonight. So, sometimes Gonzaga is playing and they're not on, national TV every game, but this is a spot where I feel like they're going to make a statement that they are still legit. They're still here. It's basically them and St. Mary's. And I'm looking at Gonzaga too. They suffered some of those losses. They lost on the road at Santa Clara, got caught on the road there, but they're still 4-1 against the spread in conference play so far this year. So, until I see it consistently that Gonzaga is just, going to start losing games, I'm backing them here to get it done. Going to a little off the beaten path here. Give me Towson at home against Drexel tonight. Now, this is a kind of a weird one, but I think there's a good spot for value. The money line's -125 on BetMGM. Drexel's coming in here hot, 7-game winning streak to begin conference play in the CAA for them. But they've honestly benefited from an easy first half of the schedule there in conference play. It's a team that's, I think, overperformed lately too, because they've faced some easier teams. But I think regression is coming because they've been shooting lights out from 3-point range in conference play. I just think negative regressions surely coming to that because now they're going on the road facing a Towson team that has the best 3-point defense in the conference so far, top-ranked defense in the conference overall this year. Drexel's 3-0 on the road in conference play in the CAA so far, but they also came against, as I was saying, easier competition, bottom feeders of the CAA. William & Mary, NC, A&T, Elon, this is a tougher test. And Towson comes in here. They're undefeated at home so far this year. And you look back at Towson over recent years, they are a team that very much wins at home and consistently wins at home. So last year, they went 8-1 at home in conference play. They went 8-1 at home in conference play 2 years ago. So over the past 3 years in conference play against colonial teams, 19-2 straight up at home for this Towson team. And Drexel versus Towson specifically, when the game's been at Towson, Drexel has not won there since 2015. 7 straight losses that they've lost at Towson. So this is a spot where, obviously Towson is comfortable just playing at home in general, but they know that they have Drexel's, playbook basically when they come in on the road here. And last year, Drexel went 2-7 on the road in conference play. So I know that, they've started out 3-0, but I feel like some regression is coming to Drexel here. All right, my last pick for tonight, going with the under in SMU North Texas. Tonight's slate not great. There's only a few power conference matchups, in the Pac-12. But going here to the American Athletic here and taking the under in SMU North Texas. Basically, defense is going to set the tone for this game on both sides. SMU 16th in the country in defensive efficiency. North Texas 29th. So 2 top 30 teams in terms of defense this year in college basketball. It's also the number 1 and number 2 defenses in the American Athletic so far this year. Both teams are shooting poorly from 3 in conference play, which is pretty notable. Just looking at the totals, taking the under in this, and both teams have had turnover issues too. Recently. So I feel like defense on both sides of the ball is going to really keep this one lower scoring. It's a low total, 125.5, but I think it's that low for a reason. I look at North Texas being at home too, really setting the pace here because they are dead last in college basketball in terms of pace, tempo this year. 362nd out of 362 D1 teams that qualify. So that being at home is big for the under here. They're going to play with that slow pace, play with the top-tier defense, and they force teams to play that way too when they come into their home stadium. Their home games have gone under in 3 straight so far, 3 straight now, and their games overall are 6-2 to the under in their last 8 games. So this is a team that is a lot more comfortable playing slow, playing with their defense, setting the tone. And I think SMU is a team where I think their offense could struggle a little bit on the road, but their defense can travel. And I feel like they're going to try to match the defensive effort on both ends. This is an SMU team that's just scored 103 points against Tulsa last game, but this is a much different matchup. That was a faster-paced game against an easier opponent. North Texas is, slow, defensive-minded team. And SMU, when they've played some of these, better teams this year, tougher defenses, the total went under against Wisconsin, Dayton, and Memphis for SMU. I think a similar spot is coming here against North Texas where, honestly, 60 points might win this game. Maybe 62, but I think it's staying under 125.5. So there's some college basketball bets for tonight's slate. If you missed any of today's show, rewind, go back and watch Andrew Cooper gave out his NFL bets and props for the AFC NFC Championship Games. And had just had Josh Wagner on to talk some hockey bets for Thursday night. So check out all that good stuff there for tonight if you want to get any bets going. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, we'll be back here on the show, talking some conference championship best bets, props with Howard Bender. So me and him will give our bets, our picks and bets for this weekend's 2 games in the AFC and the NFC. Today, coming up on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm, 5 p.m. Eastern, we got the NBA DFS live show with John Mpemba and James Grande. Smaller slate in basketball, but still get those DFS lineups in with them. And then 7 p.m. Eastern, high stakes fantasy football show with Eric Balkman as well. So you can check out that stuff tonight here on the channels. Appreciate everyone tuning in on a Thursday. Again, we'll be back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, to give out some bets for the NFL Conference Championship Games. So tune in then. We'll see you guys later. Good luck with your picks tonight and later.
Bettor Sports Betting.